There's a tool. That's a tool everybody needs. Obviously for this, we're going to need an M2 driver. And then the kit, obviously, is here. Everything out of this beautiful box. I'll leave the stickers and props for later. But you get these 3D prints. This one still has the crap inside, so get inside there and do the twisting. And I like to start with motors, so that's what we're going to do. So for this one, I am going to use the motors that you get with it come with the 7s, 8s, or 4s. I'm going to stick with the 4s. I think they're long enough. I'm not doing any skids. So we'll go with that. I don't know how good my audio is. Turn that up a little bit maybe. How about that? Is that a little better? All right. So let's go ahead and hold the motor here. Screw in there. We're starting. I'll try to line up the other motors as well. Best I can. And it's easier if you put the screw in first. Try not to put it on too tight at first. Tighten them all down later. That allows it to be able to move around still as you get the stall line. Over tighten them. If you like, you can go back and add thread lock on there, but generally I don't. I just tighten my screws up before each race. Just a little too much. Okay. Yep, there is music in the background. Oh well. I wonder if I should change. Yeah, that's fine. Hopefully my audio is okay. That's 2, that's 3, that's 14. All right. Well, maybe I'll speed this up later so you don't have to watch every little freaking screw. And that, tighten each one again. And on to the last motor. Looks like they gave us one extra screw, which is great. And tighten. All right, and the long screw. So I'll go ahead and put the motor screws back away. We don't need those. We might steal some later, but oh, I didn't have an extra screw. I thought I did. I'm just not very good at counting. All right. So on this one, if you look at mine, I like to have this smooth part on the outside and then this rigid whatever on the inside. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right way or not, but that's the way we're going to do it. So in order to do that, you want to end up like this. So we're going to take, to start, I'm going to find the long screws, which are the same screws that go through the motor. I'm sorry, excuse me, through the flight controller and such. And then we want to get at least one. Well, it's actually those nuts there. So you'll end up not having to use these screws that come with the flight controller because you're going to be using these that come with the kit. So turn that over, throw that through here. And then that actually goes through this hole on the side. And just for, so you know, this is the back of the drone. So obviously I have that backwards, so it needs to be like this. And which means I also have one, because this needs to be over on this side. So there you go. Keep doing it till you get it right. Roll this over and take another one and do it as well. And then you push that up and through. And then that creates this like this. Now you're going to have two more screws that go with these here. And I guess I'll stick for a sec, so we'll go ahead and do it. I think it's good to do this just because it'll keep the other pieces in place. With a battery canopy thing. It's not a canopy, but a 3D print for the battery. and then the standoffs that come with it. So these two standoffs will go on the back. You don't have to worry about the back ones because they're going to go through the back and then through this hole. And sometimes you have to. I'm just going to secure these first with the nuts that come with the stack. And kind of try to do that tight as I can. Fingers, because actually this one is not going to matter as much. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. These nuts are going to spin on top as you put everything else on the build, because the way that the motor plugs work on this flight controller, once we have the spacers and everything else on here, you're going to put this in here, and then these other two screws are going to try to go down here, and you can only tighten them so far. So you're going to want to, if you do want to use these nuts, you have to actually hold the nut in place and turn the bottom, which will make this other nut free spin. Not a big deal, but something to know. All right, next I'll go ahead and do this one. Sometimes on this, you have to start the screw through the hole with, I find it easier to start with the driver. And then it starts to cut through your finger. Now it's coming through. So slide that up and through, and then you can just put the standoff on that. Okay, screw it with those. And on this one, I would be careful not to go so tight that you rip the 3D print. It doesn't, it's just going to hold that in place. So that's it. So let's go ahead and move on to the flight controller. We need to get these little guys into the little holes, and everybody has a different trick. I personally like to try with the tweezers first, but then so it always changes. So I'll squeeze it like this. And then try to grab onto the other side as much as possible. And sometimes it doesn't. But as you can see here, as you get a little bit of it in, you can just keep jamming the rest a little bit by little bit with your thumb. Sometimes a bigger piece of pliers is better just so it doesn't cut through it, but see how it popped through. So you can try to start with your, some of these newer flight controllers are actually cutting this out, so you can just slide it in. then. So get a little bit of it in there, grab the rest of it, push it in a little bit at a time. I don't know. You want to make sure you're not cranking on this middle piece because then it'll split right there. A little bit on. And put it through. This one's always the funnest one. Some people try this with dental floss or with some string or whatever, and I just find that puts it in you start jamming on it like it's not fragile. Like somehow the dental floss is going to make it perfect, and then you end up ripping it. So there you go, 4 on. Put this on here. One thing I don't think I checked, but check now. But you want to make sure that there is space between that riser so you have enough room. And obviously, I mean, this is more of a custom build, but anyway, it will fit, so we'll go with that. Okay, so now go ahead and add these other screws for the other 2 corners of the flight controller. I guess I could have done this before. I can't remember what Evan put in his tutorial. It's like a 10-minute tutorial. Shoot. No offense, it's okay. You can do that if you want. And 'The fish doing anything interesting? Hope so. You can watch that. Oh, so that actually does not interfere with the battery strap at all. So we could have put that in first. Oh well. Good to know. It simplifies the build quite a bit from the first one I did. I think the first one you had to fight with it. Can't remember. Oh, this is right. And again, I don't know why. So again, this is the back. You do want the tail to come out back, and it goes nice slide that on there and do that. Now here's the best part. Take each of these, and if you look closely, I don't know how easy that is to see, but that little tip goes down. So in this case, you're looking at the wires, and if you can see the little tabs for the wires, if you were to deep in it, those will go up, just so you don't put it in. So that is as complex as it gets, which makes it kind of great. And the earlier versions of this actually had these facing up, which made it a lot less elegant, in my opinion. Looking at this, this is good. Should just slide all right in place. And the biggest trouble now is to hide these wires, isn't it? So they don't get, because when we get this and put it on, this will be the front. We want to be able to make sure that the wires all stay on the inside. All right. Unlike other people, this is where I stop, because I want to know if everything I've done so far is working. Also, you want to make sure as you're pushing on these that you're not lifting or pushing up, because these are the only thing holding that on there is just that little solder joint, and sometimes Beta FPVCrate doesn't catch it. It's not the best, strongest plugs. So don't push on those too much. Although, I mean, if it worst case scenario, you can solder this, but that's not the point. So here we are. This is where I jump out and start with the part that everybody else waits to the end for, which just confuses me. Why would you risk, even with a smoke stopper, why would you risk all of that other equipment like your receiver and your camera and your DTX if something was really wrong? So I know I haven't messed anything up. If I do have a problem with this, it's from the factory. So what am I? Oh, so I got the smoke stopper here, and I have the up and the down for this smaller battery, and this is a 3S battery. And, I mean, I guess I could actually. So one other thing that I like to do is check for continuity, and I know people say that's pure stupidity. At least now I know if I did have continuity that something is wrong with this thing from the manufacturer. So I'll have a video proving it. So if there's continuity between the positive side and the negative side, then something is wrong. And sometimes you'll get a beep from the capacitor that's there, but there's a teeny tiny capacitor on this one. Interesting. Nothing there. Nothing there. So that's good. This is where I put all my funny glasses. Some old man. And let's go through, and now I'm going to have the red wire on the negative lead, and then I'm going to go around and make sure that I do have continuity on the grounds, which I do. On that ground and on the ground that goes to these plugs that were graciously done by GetFPV or whoever. And then I can also do a check on the positive side, and you may or may not have continuity between the 5-volt pads. You do not on this one. And is there a battery now? Yeah, so this is a VBAT pad here. So you know that it's going to actually have power out to that. All right, well, I'm happy with that. We'll go ahead and do the smoke test. That's what everybody's here for, right? So I got all 5 tones. So I know without a doubt that this flight controller is in good condition. And it wasn't messed up by anybody. Now I can go through and do the rest of the build knowing that it's right, and now I can go through also. I know that some of the first versions of these plugs were actually pinned wrong, so that's also something on this that I'll go through and check to make sure it's right. So that it's right, and that's what I do with all my builds anyway. So I'm going to do that real quick. So coming out of the pin here, this plug has a ground. It has a T6, and it has a video out and a 5-volt. So that is for your camera. So I know this one goes to the camera. It's in the right condition, and I'll go ahead and pull out the camera. And on the camera, I do want to just make sure that the plug on the camera, this nice Foxier camera, get one side of that. Now this camera comes with a solder, so we'll have to solder this up, but just coming out of here, we know we have, based on their documentation or the website, I'm sure you can look it up, but you have the power, you have a couple of grounds. One goes so you can plug in your camera control, and then has the video in, and then the white is for camera control, the purple is for smart audio, or no, actually camera control. Is that? Yeah, that one's for camera control. So you can actually set this up on T6 to, hey, what am I talking about? Slow down, Steve. Okay, so this is for your VTX, my bad. And this is for the camera. This plugs directly into the camera. So this is the camera out. It'd be cool if it was just the right size, but it's not. Oh, it's actually. So the camera actually has right on it labeled VCC, which is the battery, then ground, then video, and then OSD control. So they have this set up so you can take, like I said, that the side with the nipple on it, and then the side with the pins on it. The pins go down, and then as you look at this, you'll see it's power, ground, video, which matches power, ground, and video. So it only does the left-hand side of this connector for this 533 camera, branded. And this camera is going to go inside this. And I ruined actually a camera doing this. So you do want to make sure you get these nice and filleted open, because they will rip this off if you're not careful. So get it back in there. And this default print is not that grand, as you can see. But you want to go ahead and line up the that. Nah, you want this camera upside down. Okay. This is a different print than was sent to me, and also a different print than most people are using. Most racers that I'm seeing now are having like a fixed angle. But obviously, you can do whatever you want. Well, I guess it's more protected than I thought. For this camera, I'm going to use the smallest screw in the mix, which is these two. It looks like they have four. That are the smaller ones. And then I am going to use the washer. As you start getting tight, the camera is going to try to flip up. So I'm not going to set the camera angle yet. All right. This print is kind of get some hair on it. Okay, so this is going to go on the front, which is here. And if you notice here with the print is actually designed to take these little guys, the standoffs, and the standoffs go up inside here. And the easiest way I found to get them to go through is to, this one is not. Have this smaller little guy, you can actually push up in here. And I think I might have stabbed myself one time doing this. Hopefully you don't get to see that again. I'm sure there's a better way to do that, but it works. So I think now that I'm at this point, you can actually, as you put the screws in, it'll pull it through. So it's good enough. So the camera will just sit like this on there, and as you can see, it gets in the way of this plug. So I think that there was original design for you to try to use that, but obviously that is not the case. So I'll go ahead and put the camera on because I think you can. My original build with this was with a TBS 69, which meant I was trying to put a 69 underneath the beta FPV board. And it made it really a tight build underneath because you put this camera on after the whole build is basically done. I actually do like this print, although I think I put it upside down. It's just a little bit weird how they kind of put the print at a 45-degree angle down there, away from the frame. I don't know. I think the original had it flush, which not necessarily is not wrong or right, but again, I'm not tightening this up so tight that it rips through anything. Actually, it's interesting because this battery case is a lot softer than mine was. My original was. Even different than this one. This one, weird. Weird how they change every time. All right, well, there's your cameras on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera wiring back in to the case and pray that I don't have to, pray that I don't have to do camera control. Well, if I do, then I just have to unscrew those two screws and take it back out and we'll figure it out. But let's hope it's just set up correctly and it works. Hopefully it's already flipped and everything else. He says that, hopefully. All right. Next step. We're going to pull out the VTX. How far are we into this? Is there interesting to that? I have not seen that before. All right. Stream is acting up for a second. All right, let's look at the next steps. I'm going to go ahead and take this out of here. Now, cable set, and there's the nano there, and then the adapter, which I'll just put inside the camera box for not use. Get out this TBS eco-friendly packaging. think all we will need is that. So I generally like to cut this just a little bigger. Save that. And so the VTX, this fun beast that it came with. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is leave this, go ahead and line up the circles on there. And I like to wear my glasses for this just because it's always, I hate misaligning that. And then having it not pop on. Wonder if I'm ruining the VTX. You hear pop. Good. And VTX, we have 5-volt ground. I'm going to have to look it up. Something I always do. I always end up looking it up. TBS Unify. Pro 32 Nano. Pin out. Just say wiring, and then it'll give it some really good options. I'm pretty sure this is not. This is V1.1. Okay. All right, well, this is the only point that we have to actually go solder, so I'm not going to change the whole setup just to do that, but we'll need 5-volt. Ground wire, yellow video wire, and then we want smart audio. So 4 wires. That is what we have here, 4 wires. So, actually, I'm going to just try to use the one they gave me. So this little plug doesn't match. Does this little plug match? Notice how that plug matches exactly. And we have 4 wires. So obviously ground, then power. Interestingly enough, that's is right. And then we have the green wire, which is the smart audio wire, and the yellow wire, which is the video wire. So go ahead and solder that up to this. Based on that, we're going to have Does that look wrong? It's like I got the wrong image or something. We have the UFL button on the bottom, which means we have 3 to 13 volts coming in up here. We have a ground, and then we have another out for pass through that would go to the camera, and ground, and then video, and then the smart audio crossfire signal button or signal, which is the last one. So that's how we do it. I'm not gonna sit over there. I'm just gonna let you watch for a minute. So make sure you use some flux. Use a good soldering iron like the TS100. Skip to video. Get some flux. These words. And then get some good soldering. Oh, that's pretty good. There you go. I told you it wouldn't be long. All right, so just for reference, I like to have the wires go in. I don't like to have them hang off the back. So power, ground, video. So these are the two outs that we're not using. Video, and then the smart audio cable, smart audio connection. And just to verify, 5-volt ground. The V there is video. And again, turn it so that the pin sides match. And the VTX is done. And the camera is done. Which means the drone is done. So one thing that I am going to do is unplug this again because I forgot this. Sorry, not zip tie. Stupid. The shrink. And found that you can actually, I bought this more shrink in a big old packet. I got 100 of these nice little vinyl ones for like maybe $8, $9. So there you go. Something else. As you can see, I did cut this a little too long, but that's good. And I like to smash them together. I don't know why. Okay. All right. Look at that. What is going on over here? Giving an advertisement for other things that I'm listening to. I don't know. You two suggest. All right, now the next thing is to go ahead and take this fine print that was made. Geez, once I put these goggles on, I can see better with it. It's easier to get in and figure out what is going on with this. Print. Print doesn't quite open up all the way. I did it again. Razor blade can't fix. Fillet this bad boy open. And it's meant just to sit going up on the back of the trainer. And this little guy, this little print is technically meant to go in between here, and then I guess provide a separation between the power stuff and this. If it's absolutely necessary, but and because I didn't feed that through before, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this. on my print, I didn't use this at all, so I don't know. I think I may have forgotten about it all the way to the end. And I was like, oh, I guess I was supposed to use that. Weird. But we have this. Also goes right here. Make it so you can use all the prints, I guess. And that will put this nice and wide open in the center here. And like you see, I don't know that there's any real big reason to put nuts on the finishing nuts or whatever. I think these washers, they might have had these extra washers to go on the 3D print part that you're pressing up against the frame with, just to keep you from ripping it, maybe. But I don't know. Oh, there's one. And notice now, see how hard this is to get to now because of the full print. You end up having to do that stuff. Although I do have these. It's too big. Oh, let's see what it says. And I can get this cinch down pretty far. But then, as I said before, it starts to bang into everything else. So you end up having to go on the underside and turn it while holding that nut still. Which is just like 5 or 6 turns, to be honest. And it doesn't need to be tight. I would not suggest tightening it up against these cushions. It's just not needed. And it's a little easier to see that when you're, see how this catches, and then all of a sudden now this doesn't work anymore. And turning it with your fingers doesn't work either because there's not a whole bunch of room in there. There we go. And the last one, I'll go ahead and for complete thoroughness. How long are we on this now? We're at 1 hour exactly. Not terribly bad assembly in 1 hour, right? Something that would take any other guy 15 minutes probably, who knows?